So I kind of woke up this morning really having a hankering for some Eldar action. Never painted Eldar before. Don't really know anything about Eldar. I know that they're basically like 70s anime battleship Yamato space elf people. But that's kind of all I need to know, I think. I bought a unit of cheapo stuff, like from EH Gaming in York, at very discounted price. They're going to get stripped later. I bought a few extra bits from Boys on the way in this morning, and I just need to find a commander for the squad now. That's the main thing. And I think it's in this box. Okie dokie, so we have got a big old mishmash of new and old stuff going on here. Some brand new, some second-hand and painted, some big, some small. But at least they're all Eldar, presumably, or Eldari, whatever they're called now. My wife just refers to them as the bowling pinhead guys, which, you know, also works if that gets the point across. It has been a wee while since I've built a Warhammer kit, so please excuse me while I refamiliarise myself with the flow with these. We got plenty of parts here and there and everywhere, in fact on different sprues. We have got mould lines up the wazoo. Maybe these are older kits. And we've got parts going together that are more of a vague affiliation rather than a solid snug fit. Yeah. But with a bit of Tamiya extra thin, we can chew through this faster than usual, and then dig out the mould line remover to finish things off. Yeah, the mould line remover was given to me as a joke Christmas present a few years ago, and I kind of these days use it without a hint of irony. Like, I think it's legit useful, at least this old lump of metal one is anyway. Okay, so I have teased at this. I'm not actually going to do much with this cheeky Finecast avatar. I mean, it's like meme levels of terrible. The metal one's okay. At least this resin version is pretty memeable. I just didn't end up having the time to do him any kind of justice, so he's going to sit on the back burner for now. I'm going to come back to him eventually, maybe a side-by-side comparison with the new avatar. That would be nice. To get everything back to zero, these already painted minis are getting a dunk in the bio strip. Normally I'd paint over these guys. We're dunking for a nice, just clean reset to primer level. So, fuck's it called? So, bio strip didn't go entirely to plan, which is not the first time that that's happened, but hey ho. So I did end up putting a stopper in the day, getting on with something else, and taking everything home, and then putting it in a bunch of methylated spirits in a sonic cleaner, and a heated one as well. So it heats up the liquid, which is probably really dangerous, and I think it's cleaned them up good enough. The test will be to hit them with a primer and see if any of that paint texture that I wanted to get rid of is still there. We'll see. It looks interesting, but we will have to see what happens with the prime. So we'll get them primed, and then we'll get on with the paint scheme that I have in mind. So let's do that. Okay, the idea behind this paint scheme is that I wanted an army that was zero stress or pressure to add to. So whenever I buy an extra unit of models to add to it, I can slap some paint on and be done in an afternoon with like 10 models or whatever. And it looks fine enough for the 5 minutes that they survive on the table. So to start, I have primed everything in Wraithbone. Other manufacturers are available. And for 90% of our model's surface areas, we're going to use 1 part Skeleton Horde and 4 parts Contrast Medium. Don't let it pool too much. It's best to move it around, keep it light. The Contrast Medium will stop this drying too quick. And at this point, if you're not about edge highlighting, you can dry brush on some white to catch the edges. I will be attempting to edge highlight everything later on though, much to my detriment. Gemstone time, yeah, forewarning. Some of mine are going to look great. A lot of them are going to look pretty pish. But I think this is all about the time I had to invest in them, rather than the technique being bad. Firstly, I base coat these gems in a dark blue, like an almost black blue, I guess. Then for any overspill, because there's no kind of recessing around these gemstones, so it's hard to keep it tidy, just tidy up with your original base colour. I did find while recording this video, it is better to do basically every step in this tutorial before you do that Skeleton Horde wash that we did first. Yeah, I messed up real bad there. It is way more forgiving and it will tidy up some of these edges for you. To highlight as gems, we take a brighter version of the base colour and do a nice little smiley face and attempt to cover like the bottom third of the gemstones with it. Again, this can be done better, can be done with some smoothing and blending, but for tabletop ready, I'm quite happy with just this jump in shade, to be honest. For panel lining or recess shading, I take snakebite leather, again, like a 1:4 medium ratio. The good thing with a light diluted contrast mix like this is if you make any mistakes, you can pretty much just wipe it off with your finger and carry on, it'll be fine. And in the rare event of a detailed recess area, you can pretty much treat it like a wash. No one's going to mind. I think you'll be forgiven at the gates of heaven for doing this. Wraithbone armor highlighting time. Yeah, I don't normally do this kind of thing on the channel because after a few models I basically... the ability to control my arm at this level of detail is not great, but yeah, we are going to edge highlight pretty much everything. Going from basically a wash to maximum edge white with white star on this does save a lot of time. But again, it is one of those things where your time and care investment directly rewards and correlates to the end result. A handy trick that I've recently learned is if you want to paint black and highlight the black, and you're happy with cheap and cheerful, then slap on some coal black from P3. Just bang it on the trim, bang it on the edges, and it's kind of, it's a little something something without too much time invested. Now, I want to add some more colour and saturation to these guys without compromising or complicating the paint scheme we already have. So we're going to use our bases as a means of getting that colour and saturation in. Firstly, some Martian earth. An air quote common mistake I see with a lot of textures on bases is that people can often go too thin with this stuff, and they tend to go even thinner towards the edges. But for texture paint to really shine, slapping on thick is kind of what it's really built for. To better blend model to base, some dark, rusty weathering powder goes on the lower legs and onto the base itself. Go easy with this stuff and buff it out with a soft brush. And speaking of 20 quid a pop, some colourful gamer's grass onto the bases is more colour, at this point kind of for the sake of more colour, but I do also like pretty flowers on my bases. Whenever I can make excuses for it, I will make an excuse for pretty flowers. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how these guys turned out. There's the Eldar Guardians that appear in the thumbnail and get some macro shots around about in this section. They turned out the best because they were my test pieces and I spent the most time on those before I turned the YouTube cameras on. And I would say this scheme does what I want it to do, in that for future army editions I want to work in small chunks, like an afternoon here and there, and get things done before detail fatigue sets in. If any of you guys try it, I would be hyped to see what you come up with and whether you do a better job, which you probably will, and whether you can improve the flow at all. Unsolicited model pictures over Instagram are always welcome. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Nice little palette cleanser this after sitting in a chair for 3 weeks doing the Halloween video. I will be adding to this army as we go. Maybe not in video form, but I may come back to that whole avatar comparison thing. We'll see. Coming up next on the channel, I've got Gasland's Mike over to talk about his new Orc drinking game, which wasn't on my bingo card for the next video, but that is what's coming. So strap in for that. Thanks to my delicious Patreon community for being their usual supportive selves and giving me some quiet time after the Halloween video grind, and for generally keeping the lights on around here. Cheers, I'm out of here.